Hi, I'm back. You can see I've done a little more work. Something I wanted to show you is I've done more on the head. So when you're doing colored pencil, one thing you notice is a lot of the white paper showing through, a little bit of textured paper. Now I'm using, like I said, that multimedia paper. If you use a Bristol, it's even smoother, and that can help. Another thing you can do, and I just learned this last night watching a video of a fellow colored pencil artist. I will look up her name and put it in the comments of this video. But she talks about how to blend and get this super smoothness. It's something I've been doing for years, but I'd never had it described so well as she described it, which is to basically using a lighter pencil, you blend what you've laid in, but there's a definite technique to it. So if I'm wanting a super smooth area, and like I said, the more pencil you add, the more wax you might end up with. But if you want this to be super, super smooth, like if you're doing the face of a portrait or on the part of the wing here where it's going to be like really slick and then black lines, you don't want the texture that these feathers, or you might want it really soft like it is here, and you don't want the texture. Sometimes the texture is what you want, so it just depends on what you're going for. So if I'm going for this smooth area in here, so I'm going to add some more color. So you can see I keep kind of going in the same direction, still layering it lightly, like I said before, with my pencil further away. I feel like it needs to be a little darker yet, so I'm going to add a little more intense color before I do this softening blending that she talks about. Now I can come back in with a lighter blue. What she talks about is if I do this technique in the same direction, it's going to show some streaks. So if I want it that way, like up in here, that's great. And I did that up in here for the feathers. I went in the same direction because I wanted that look. But if I want it to be smooth, you go in the opposite direction. And so if I start burnishing in with this pencil, it is smoothing and blending the colors I've already put down. And it's creating a really smooth finish, okay? Sometimes you need to go with an even lighter color like this. It's a very light blue. And see how that's blending all that in? See how nice that's looking? So you're going in the opposite direction of the original laying down of the color. And then now I'm going the opposite direction yet again. So it creates a really super smooth surface to lay down more color on. Again, you may not get as much on there. My next step on this would be to lay in, see I can get some on there, would be to lay in see how it's a different look. My next step would be to lay in this black where those feathers are. So let me get this bit done. Oops, I'm supposed to be going this way. So I'm like really pressing hard. Edge there. And I'm going to go with this lighter one. Get it all pretty uniform. Get my edges. Alrighty. Now I'm going to come in with both the black. Notice too I've sharpened on my pencil since I left you last. I'm going to use this blue indigo. It's going to look almost like black, but it's going to give me a hint of color. I'm going to give myself an edge. Now I'm not going to draw in every single little feather and how they go. I'm going to draw in enough of them that your eye goes, oh yeah, those are the tail feathers, or those are the edge of the wing. So there's an edge of feather here. And then there's another edge here. And I want this to look random, like a bird feathers, but they are also very orderly. I'm going to need to add some black in to get those edges. Now this bit is the actual tail. So there's these long lines. You get to where you don't even see them all distinctly because they're held in. Give them an edge there. Get into the corner. I didn't plan this out very well, but that's the glue I'm looking for. There we go. There it is. Because this is so smoothed, I am able to lay this color in, this next color, without it having that texture underneath anymore. So, okay, that's how I got that. Now there's just this whole series of wing feathers that I've got to contend with. So I just look at my drawing, and basically I'm trying to get a representation so that the viewer will look at this and not doubt that these are bluebird feathers. So whether or not it's exactly as the photo looks isn't as important, in my opinion anyway, on this kind of a picture, as that it represents what you're looking at. Okay, so I'm going to, for a bit, because I don't want these videos to get too long, I'm going to come back in now with these pale, they're called French Gray, and this is a beige, but very pale. I can come into the tummy feathers with these pencils and press kind of hard if I have areas that I want more blended and soft to smooth out the color that I've put in already. But see, I'm being a lot more splotchy with it intentionally. If I wanted it super smooth, like say for a portrait, which is what she was demonstrating. She does amazing photographic portraits, gorgeous. And if you like doing that kind of work, and that's how you want your portraits to look, she has beautiful examples and a lot of tutorials. So she'd be somebody to look up. Again, I said I'd put her information in my description of this video, and you can look her up and see if that's a style you like and learn from a different artist. One thing I think people need to remember is be confident in what you're doing, and don't be so worried about another artist possibly being better than you are at something. We all have skills, and we all have different abilities that one person might be better at a particular thing than you are, and you can't all be the best at everything. So it's not a competition. So just so see how this is like softening what I have, and since I'm being kind of choppy with it, it's keeping the essence of those feathers, but yet still giving me this kind of a soft, fluffy, downy look that the tummy holds. Okay, and then to give some of that depth, I can come in, that's too brown, that's too brown. I'm going to get this rusty color over here. You can't see me off camera, but I am actually testing colors on my test sheet. Now I'm drawing in some of these little shadowy areas, just tiny little feather strokes, really, to get, they always have this big, when they puff out in the winter, they get this division where their breastbone is, and it's very characteristic of bluebirds and other birds as well. Certain birds have more of that than others. But birds have huge breasts in order to have the power to fly. So anyway, so I want all these little tiny lines. I don't want this to be super smooth. It wouldn't give me the characteristics of the feathers. However, if I was doing a portrait of someone, I would want it more smooth. So it depends on your subject. So it's good to learn all the different techniques so you can use them depending on what you're trying to create. So this next area down here, this I put in some very light gray to show that white, and now I'm doing the same thing. I'm coming back in with this very pale, this is called a 10% cold gray, so that's more the bluish gray, very close to white. And if I want more white, I could use white as the blender to soften those strokes. If your white gets coated, you just, that it maybe starts leaving marks on your paper that you don't want, just sharpen it and it will be ready to go. So see how this is like softening up those edges. Smoothing. Again, it depends on the look you want. Sometimes I leave those sharp and crisp, and then other times you can come in and soften them up. I'm going to use this one, orange. Okay. Ah, snap the tip. That's how hard I'm pressing to get this to blend. So, okay. Well, I think that's looking pretty good. Feels like there still needs to be a little more of the rusty color. Maybe over into here. Yeah. Their orange is so intense. And maybe a little more. This one, if you use several colors, you'll get more depth and interest. Just going to keep kind of layering those in until I feel like it's the orange I want. This is a really intense orange, but it can help some of this pop a little bit. Really get that bluebird feel going. They might not be quite this intense in nature, but oh my goodness, right now that blue, they fly past my window and it's like a flash of blue. You know they're there. They are really bright right now. Guess they gotta show all the lady bluebirds how pretty they are. So that's the basics of how we're gonna get that fluffy tummy. I've already erased all my pencil lines. So the next is for me to continue to work these blues through the wings and decide how much texture versus how much smooth do I want in these wing areas. So that is my next bit, and then to decide how I'm going to handle this piece of wood down below that he's standing on and get that figured out. But this technique for doing the wings is pretty much going to be the same as I did this part. Is going to be putting in the color, smoothing it out if I want it smooth in those areas. Some of this is more the other feathers that maybe I don't want that smooth. And see, I like the mixture of the blues so that it gives the intensity of that bluebird. They are just so gorgeous. And I like adding a little bit of that purple in. Depends on how the light hits them when they're flying. But sometimes I see purple. So I want a little bit of that deep purple in there. Okay, this is getting pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and sign off on this video, and I probably will shoot one more so you can see the finished piece. Okay. See you later.